Hi, tonight's devotional is about when Saul started to get jealous of David. Israel's new king. As you can imagine, defeating the giant Goliath and saving Israel made David pretty popular. Everyone in Israel wanted to be David's friend, even King Saul. When David was old enough, the king asked him to be a leader in the army. David might not have been the tallest or the strongest, but even King Saul could see that David followed God. Every time David went out to fight a battle, God was with him, and David won. So King Saul sent David to fight more battles, and David kept on winning. At first, this made King Saul very happy, but as David kept winning, the king became less happy. You see, the more David won, the more popular David became. "Hooray for David!" the people would yell every time they saw him. King Saul got jealous. Do you know what jealous means? To be jealous is to want something that someone else has. With all this winning, David was now more popular than King Saul. If David kept winning, eventually the people would want him to be king. King Saul was jealous of David's popularity. He was jealous of all David's victories. He was jealous that God was with David. So King Saul got angry. Have you ever been so angry that you did something that wasn't very smart? Like throw your favorite toy against the wall or yell at your best friend? Yep, anger can make us do bad things. As Saul's anger grew, he decided he wanted to do a really bad thing. He wanted to kill David. That's right. Even though David was helping King Saul win all these battles, even though David was keeping Israel safe, David knew that King Saul wanted to kill him. It's a bad thing when a king wants to kill you because the whole army obeys the king, whether they want to or not. Now the whole army would try to kill David too. But David had a best friend who wanted to help him. His best friend's name was Jonathan. Jonathan promised he would tell David if King Saul was planning to hurt him. How would Jonathan know? Because Jonathan was King Saul's son. Jonathan didn't want his father, the king, to kill his friend David. So when Jonathan heard his father making a plan to kill David, he ran to David and told him. David knew he couldn't stay around King Saul or his best friend Jonathan anymore. So David ran away from King Saul and his army. He hid in the desert. He hid in caves. He waited for God to tell him what to do next. How long do you think David ran from King Saul? A week? A month? 8 years. That's right. David ran and hid from King Saul and his whole army for 8 years. But God was with David, and God kept David safe. Then one day, there was a great battle between the Philistines and King Saul's army. Many Israelites died in the battle. David's best friend Jonathan was one of them. So was Jonathan's father, King Saul. Both of them died in the battle. David was so very sad to hear that so many Israelites had been killed. He was especially sad to hear that his friend Jonathan had died. He was even sad to hear that King Saul had died. Now Israel needed a new king. Who should they choose? Who would help them be victorious in battle? Who would help them follow God? The Israelites thought about it, and they remembered who had been following God all along. They remembered who God had helped win all those battles before he'd been forced to run for his life. David. In time, Jesse's youngest son David would become Israel's king. And what a king he would be. Everyday truth. I don't need to compare myself to others because God made me the right way. Okay, here's the questions to talk about with your parents. Why was Saul jealous of David? Pause the video and talk about it. All right, next question. Talk about a time that you struggled with jealousy. Pause the video and talk about it. Would you pray with me? Dear God, it is never helpful to compare ourselves to others. Please show us the unique way you made us according to your plan. Amen. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow night for another bedtime story.